Thank you. I am thrilled to be here today and have the opportunity to talk to you about the incredible momentum in the life sciences industry in South Carolina. As many of you know, I'm a Columbia native and a Clemson graduate, but I've been gone from the state for 20 years. So I am so happy to be back in South Carolina, to be a part of SCBIO, and to be a part of this wonderful, thriving life sciences community. And before I jump in to talk about the economic impact report life sciences has on the state and some of my visions and goals for SCBIO and life sciences, I did want to take a minute to thank all of our members and all of you here. Without your participation and commitment, none of this event would not be nearly as meaningful or impactful. And the attendance, the interest continues to grow. We've shattered all of our attendance records. We've actually sold out both of our tickets and our booths. And all of that credit goes to a current SCBIO team and also to the former CEO who you saw earlier, Sam Konduras, who did such a wonderful job of growing SCBIO into what it is today. And we continue to grow. Just last year, we added 24 new members, including 6 at the board level. Financially, we're in the best place that we've ever been, and we are not content yet. With your help, we want to continue to aggressively grow so we can do even more to support this growing life sciences industry in South Carolina. And like SCBIO, the momentum for life sciences in South Carolina is unbelievable. In just the past few weeks, we've gotten our economic impact report from Dr. Joey Van Nessen, and I'll let him talk later about the real nuts and bolts of the data, but I did want to share a few highlights and how I think it can chart our future for life sciences in South Carolina. So many of you have probably seen this 2017 map that had 700 life science and ecosystem support companies across the state. And at the time, it signified tremendous growth and tremendous momentum. But just in a few short years, we've gone from 700 companies to over 1,000 companies across the state. And the clusters are becoming more and more apparent in the upstate, in the Midlands, and in Charleston. And the jobs data is just or more as impressive. From over 2017 to 2022, our core life science jobs have grown 42% in the state. 42%. And if you factor in the ecosystem support jobs, it's even higher. We have a total of 90,000 of those jobs across the state. So when I got this, my first question was, what's happening? Is this happening everywhere? Is this just a trend, or is it unique to South Carolina? And the short answer is yes, it is unique to South Carolina. Not only are we are growing at a blistering pace, almost 2 times faster than North Carolina and 2.5 times faster than Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. And we're not done yet. If you adjust our jobs to per capita, we're in around the middle of the pack, clustered with Georgia and Alabama. And a few years ago, this probably signifies great momentum. We probably would have popped champagne and had confetti to be middle of the pack for anything in life sciences. And if we continue to grow at our current rate, and if others grow at their rate, by 2027, we can move from the middle of the pack all the way to 3rd per capita for life science jobs. But what if we do more? What if we are more audacious in our goals? What if we all seize this current momentum to truly transform the state? So, for example, if we can grow to 13% a year, not only will we move out of the middle of the pack, we can move all the way to 2nd per capita for life science jobs in the Southeast, only behind and closing on North Carolina. And we all know why this high growth matters. It leads to more talent and more influx of capital and investment. It leads to higher paying jobs, which leads to better schools and better infrastructure and just better quality of life for the state. And also for selfish reasons, it leads to more opportunities for our children. I have a 7-year-old William and a 3-year-old Maddie. And when the time comes, I want them to feel like they can stay in South Carolina and get the best career experience than anywhere in the world. And not only in life sciences, because I'm convinced that as life sciences grow, the entire human capital of South Carolina will grow, and the knowledge economy in South Carolina will follow the life sciences lead. And we already have world-class growing anchors across the state. And as we grow, that momentum builds on itself, where we have more students in our life sciences. More of those students take jobs in South Carolina. We have more new companies form. We have more of those companies grow and succeed. We then have more people who want to come into South Carolina and more companies who want to expand and relocate in South Carolina. So as that momentum feeds on itself, the clusters will become even more and more dense. And the question, though, is easy for me to sit up here and talk about if we grow at this rate and showing us surpassing people, but how do we get there? How do we really do it, and how does SCBIO help support that growth? And to be clear, as the data showed, we already have a lot of this growth happening now. We seem to have a plethora of new and exciting announcements each week. We have Nephron that is constantly has a new product or an expansion. We have Kiatech and their expansion and move into the new innovation district in Greenville. We have IMCS's recent NIH award. We have the College of Charleston's creation of health sciences school. So the pump is primed for growth. We're growing, and we are far from starting from scratch. So I think at SCBIO, we can focus on 5 key areas to help push that growth forward. I think those areas are workforce and talent, policy, partnerships, innovation and entrepreneurship, and telling the South Carolina story. The first one of those is workforce or talent. If we want to continue to grow, producing a talented workforce has to be a top priority. Without talent, all of these grander visions are not possible. And the good news is we're already producing a lot of that quality talent. Schools like South Carolina and Clemson and MUSC in our 2-year colleges are producing quality students every day. And in SCBIO at the 2- and 4-year, we are trying to drive student membership to raise awareness, bring together students and companies to introduce them to career opportunities, and maybe most importantly, like we did with the SCBIO certificate, to bring the companies and industry together to make sure that students are graduating with the right skill set and are ready for employment. Also, because we need to fill that pipeline earlier, we're focused on some K-12 initiatives. One of the most exciting initiatives there is our work with Skills Gap in their very unique, one-of-a-kind, app-based life science video game. This will be a game that is only available to South Carolina students and introduces them through gameplay to career opportunities in life sciences, and also, because it's only for South Carolina students, even companies in the state, in their area that they may go work for. So talent is so important. And if we're going to meet the current demand of our fast-growing companies now, and if we want to pull in more companies, then talent has to remain a priority. And the good thing is, if we can get that part of the equation right, everything else that I'm going to talk about today becomes much easier. The second area, and I won't spend a lot of time on it because it's pretty straightforward, is policy. Policy, we need to evaluate the policies of the state to make sure there is few roadblocks as possible to starting a company or growing a company. And we've worked with partners now to talk about eliminating the franchise or the license fee in the state, which is a huge hindrance for our early stage and certainly our pre-revenue companies, many of those which are life sciences. On top of that, I think we need to evaluate incentives and make sure that they are modernized to attract the new knowledge economy jobs like a lot of our life science jobs are. I think we can be aggressive and do something like a 15 to 25% payroll for every life science company that creates 10 or more high-paying jobs. This kind of incentive would immediately set South Carolina apart, attract new companies here, and accelerate expansions for our new companies in the state. So these kind of policy initiatives show that South Carolina is committed to being the next leader in life sciences. Next is partnerships. We want to promote more partnerships and more collaborations between our companies and other organizations. At SCBIO, we have a pretty unique view across companies in the industry, and sometimes we can identify those partnerships or how maybe just one company can solve a problem for another. And we want to do more of that. Sometimes it's just bringing these people together. For example, at this event a couple years ago, Paramer and Premier Medical started discussions that ended up in a new successful product development. And in the future, we want to be even more intentional about that. For example, I want to bring Remedy in front of a group of our members and clinicians to talk about their capabilities in the digital health platform. And hopefully, in that meeting, somebody will have a light bulb go off and say, you know what, I need to work with them. That solves my problem. And we form a new partnership from those discussions. And we don't want to limit it to just our life science companies. We want to utilize all the expertise at SCBIO. For example, one of our new board members, Christopher Hansen with Nelson Mullins, is one of the few FDA experts outside of DC, right in Greenville. So when our companies have regulatory issues, we want Chris and our other members to be a valuable resource. And at SCBIO, we can take our own advice and make sure that we are strengthening and deepening our partnerships with organizations like ours. Organizations like SCRA and the Hospital Association and economic development organizations. Because we've seen if we aren't so siloed and work together, then new creative ideas and initiatives will come from that. South Carolina is in a really unique spot. I think our size and willingness to work together, we can do a lot more and leverage a lot more of these partnerships and collaborations than other states. So we need to use that to our advantage. The next area is so important is innovation and entrepreneurship. I truly believe that the easiest way to move to those jobs up the value chain, like corporate headquarters and like R&D, is to grow our current companies here and have more companies form. It's actually amazing to see that some of our most innovative, successful companies either started in South Carolina or moved to South Carolina early on. For example, Nephron, who moved here a little bit later, but moved from Orlando to South Carolina. Lou Kennedy is a Lexington County native and a University of South Carolina graduate, and now has a world-class campus right in Columbia. Vicor started out in the SCRA incubator space and now takes up several floors at the beautiful West Edge building right here in Charleston. And we have a lot of others that may not be quite as household name yet, but soon will be. We have Remedy, who I mentioned earlier, who moved early on from the Research Triangle. We have SyncMD, which moved their young team all the way from Seattle. We have Afaxis and Kiatech and Diversified Medical and Polymed. And we need to foster more companies like this in the state. But so how do we do that? There are a lot of organizations that focus on entrepreneurship every single day, and SCBIO doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. But I do think there are areas where we can support and help here. One of those is to work closer with those organizations focused on entrepreneurship like SCRA and SC Launch, and to make sure that we have a pipeline of all of their life science companies that come into SCBIO so we can introduce them to our members and the life science ecosystem. I think we need to continue to engage with students in life sciences and make sure they're aware of the possibilities to start their own business, and when they do, to help them grow and succeed. I think that we can work more closely with the Hospital Association and hospitals and figure out how we get a lot of those great ideas that may be stuck in the hospital that a clinician has. How do we pull that out? And how do we do the opposite? How do we take our startups and have our hospitals be a test case for new innovation in South Carolina? And finally, I think that we have a unique ability where maybe we can help identify and recruit some small startups that aren't in the state, build a relationship with them, and maybe even the investors to convince them why they should move to South Carolina and how they can grow even more. And the last thing is telling the South Carolina story. We have such a great story to tell. We need to make sure that everyone outside of this state understands it. The stories are so remarkable and people in this room know it, but I'm not sure that the CEO in Boston or California or Munich know the story. And right now, we tell the story at BIO and Medica and other conferences, and we'll continue to do that. But on top of that, I want every CEO, every CFO, every founder, every decision maker to know all about the successes of South Carolina and our companies. I want them to be brimming with anticipation when they see the SCBIO newsletter in their inbox. I want them to hear from our CEOs about how they were able to successfully grow because of South Carolina and not in spite of being in South Carolina. And obviously, the primary goal of that is we want, for those decision makers, when it's time to expand, when it's time to relocate, to consider South Carolina. But secondarily, as we highlight our companies, it raises awareness and hopefully drives more business to the state in the short term. So we have such a remarkable story to tell. We need to make sure we're telling it. We just need to be strategic on how we tell it, how we spread it widely, and making sure the right people see it. So those are the 5 areas that I think that SCBIO and we as a whole, if we can push on that and push them forward, will do wonders for our growth. And there's so much momentum around it already. It is such an amazing time to be in the life sciences industry in South Carolina. The growth data, the announcements, the success stories are all phenomenal. And I really think that it's just the beginning. I think we're standing on the edge of a transformative change in this state. But just how transformative depends on our actions today. Our conference theme is Challenge Accepted. Well, I've challenged SCBIO to do everything in our power to help move South Carolina to that second per capita for jobs in the Southeast. So everything we do, every decision we make will be made through that lens of, does this help move us to second? In fact, you may end up seeing a more stylistic, artistic version of this graph just so it is on our future material, so it is a constant reminder of our mission and our goals. I wake up every day inspired by all the great things that are happening in South Carolina. And I'm thrilled to think about how much more we can accomplish. So I look forward to continue working with all of you to will these dreams and goals into a reality. Thank you.